sales. This is Clark County data. And just added an extra quarter here for you from the last slide. Sales in the first quarter, the sales in the line in the right-hand axis, the line in the right-hand axis is the number of sales. The bar in the left-hand axis is the median sales price. And this comes from the Washington State University Center for Real Estate Research. They publish a report for each county on a quarterly basis. And you can see the second quarter 2010 median sales price at $214,100, just down slightly from the prior quarter, but still down roughly $4,000 from the second quarter of 2009. The number of sales showing fairly healthy growth. The third quarter of 2009, fourth quarter as well, down slightly, but still up significantly, almost 40% from the first quarter of 2009. And again, eager to see the second quarter 2010 data to see the impact of the expiration of that housing tax credits that happened the first quarter of this year. Just to add to this data, I did look up on Zillow to see what the Washougal median, what they said the median sales price in Washougal was. It was $210,400 for July. They only recorded 23 sales in Washougal in terms of their data. Clark County's median price was $219,300. And that represented an upward trend recent months and flat from a year ago. So again, I think similar to what we talked about in July, things appear to, the bottom appears to have passed, although you can, if you look around, you can still see it. I think it's that, it's close. We're slowly climbing out of it. Some of the sectors faster than others, housing being one that's lagging. Okay. The next slide, this is something new that I picked up for this presentation, looking at foreclosures, and this is from RealtyTrack data, and this represents August information. For Clark County, there are 533 new foreclosures. 1 out of every 305 units was in foreclosure. Foreclosed units, there are 2,803 units sold in 2010. The average sales price was $195,000. So you can see well below the median sales price that we showed you in the prior slides. In Washougal, there were 39 new foreclosures in August, 1 out of every 185 units, so a much higher rate than Clark County as a whole, at least recently. I didn't do any trend data on this at all. But you can see 39 new foreclosures. The Zillow data suggested there were 23 sales. You can get a sense that things aren't necessarily rebounding all that fast in terms of the local housing market. Okay? This is another piece of good news in terms of just the building activity. And oftentimes these are leading indicators. That housing starts tend to completely collapse when things start to decline, and then come back a little bit early in terms of the overall economic recovery. This obviously has been a much slower response than we've seen in prior years where we've had recessions. But so far through August, we've had 28 new single-family residential building permits. And you can see the red bar is the 2010 data, the green bar is 2008, and the blue bar is 2009. So you can see in August we actually had the same number we had in 2008. We're already 6 more than we had the full year last year. That's good news, but still well below the 2008 year-to-date information of 64, roughly 44% of where we were 2 years ago. But clearly recovering from what had happened last year. What was encouraging to me, and I don't know if Joanne has any anecdotal information, but considering the expiration of the tax credits, those July and August starts were, I was happy to see those on your data. So suggests that there are some people making investments. So I think it's pretty much limited to some of the larger construction firms that maybe have money to go buy lots at, or are getting lots at really discounted prices. So still going to be a while to clear that market. Okay, but good news. Correlating to that is the next slide, which is the total building permit valuation. And this has more of a direct relationship to the revenue estimates that we have. This helps us to get a sense of what new construction, taxable new construction will be. But you can see through August of 2010, we're just over $8 million of total valuation, whereas all of last year we were at 7.6 million. So we're already 5.5% higher than last year just through August of this year. And the prospects for this to continue to grow. This does two things. Not only does it help your new construction valuation, although there's a year lag with that, so you won't see this revenue for a couple of years. But it also brings in new building permit revenue across the counter as well.
And sales tax revenue.
Sales tax revenue from construction too. Thanks, Paul.
Are these, is your building permit, are these both residential and commercial?
This is just single-family residential. And you, focusing on the commercial, we haven't had any since the slide I showed you before. I think there was one new building, which was I think it was a fast food restaurant. Can't remember. No.
They haven't pulled their building permit yet, but we anticipate that this year.
So there was one new building, commercial building permit this year, which is down from before, but. Okay. So continuing with some good news is the sales tax revenue, the monthly sales tax revenue, and the blue bars and the blue bars, excuse me, are 2010 data. The red line is 2009, and the green line with the triangles is 2008. And these are just the sales tax revenues that the city received in each month. And remember, we talked about a 2-month lag. So February's revenue represents taxable activity that happened in December. That's why February is always a spike. And you can see year over year, we've had some relatively good increases recently. August was roughly 10.8% higher than, August 2010 was roughly 10.8% higher than last year. July, however, was about 5.7% lower than the prior year. Year to date, we're about 1.3% lower than last year. We're forecasting flat, but again, I think what this suggests is that the bottom has probably occurred. We look like we're going to be having some rebound in terms of the taxable sales. And again, a lot of this can be traced back to the construction activity that's increased as well. And I think RJ was telling me Tuesday we think we'll get September's number, and this is, I think RJ gets it and it sits in his inbox for about 30 seconds and he sends it out to those of us that are eager to see what happens in September. So this is really one of your best indicators of what's happening in the local economy. Okay? And then lastly, I wanted to bring you an update on the inflation. In the forecast, we're using 1.5% as our 2010 inflation number. We got the first half inflation data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and it showed that the Portland CPIU increased 1.6% in the first half of 2010 compared to the first half of 2009, so that's an annual rate. And that compares pretty well with the number that we were using in the forecast, 1.5%. So again, that's the economic overview update. I'll give you the context for the budget estimates that you'll be seeing tonight, as well as the preliminary budget that you'll be seeing next month.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Briefly introduce our comments on the budget approach, and then dig into some more of the details about that. Just in terms of our timeline, to recall, we convened on July 31st, and at that time we had a preliminary forecast for the next several years. We're here this afternoon